Hey guys, happy Friday. So if you've kept track of my YouTube, I've already done some videos about, just reminiscing about vintage things that, I remember when I was a juvenile, and of course, did several videos of reminiscing of vintage things from my childhood, and I'm gonna do maybe even more videos of reminiscing about artifacts from my childhood and all that stuff, but especially vintage appliances and stuff of that nature. And of course, I've seen lots of videos of vintage stuff where, the YouTuber actually owns a vintage appliance, vintage fan, vintage mower, or whatever. Physically owns it and does a video of himself, actually owning it and showing the actual, item on YouTube and all that stuff. But, I do not own any of the vintage stuff from my childhood, and I do not know of anybody that owns the vintage things I remember from my childhood. I do not know of anybody who owns them kind of vintage things and wants to give them away or what have you. And I know I could maybe order vintage items from maybe eBay or somewhere, but I really don't want to spend the extra money right now. So what I'm gonna do for the time being is just reminisce on vintage things I remember from my upbringing, and maybe Google them and show you pictures. The best with the best description possible. So tonight I'm gonna talk about the very ancient Lawn Boy lawnmower with the staggering right wheels that came close together with the discharge chute all the way to the front right side. I've seen lots of videos of these vintage lawn boys on YouTube. Back when I was really into watching these kind of videos, and plus we even own one. Of course, my dad has been out of the picture since I was 19 years old, but back when he was still living at home, way back in the day, we owned a vintage Lawn Boy lawnmower, and I do not know how many of you are old enough to remember, but I'm going to show you a picture of one here in just a minute. Yes, but anyway, and these very early, ancient Lawn Boy lawnmowers, that, of course, I do think they used, had a 2-cycle engine, and I guess it being that they had a 2-cycle engine, they may have used the same kind of, gas as, a gas weed eater, you just mix the gas and the oil rather than have a separate compartment for the oil. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems that's the way they were manufactured. And of course, apparently they were good quality lawnmowers that lasted forever. It being there's probably still some folks that own one to this day. I just don't know anybody locally, but apparently they were, mowers built to last. And plus, the very early lawn boys, didn't have that annoying bale on the handle that you have to hold back to keep the engine running. I think they just had like, a little lever on the engine or a little switch to shut the engine off. You just had to reach down to shut it off, which, of course, I guess be more convenient than the damn bales you have to hold down to keep the mower going. Of course, definitely wasn't as safe, I know, but still a pain in the ass, which is what's on all modern day lawnmowers. Of course, you could, get you a mower with a blade clutch to where you wouldn't have to where whenever you let up on the bale, just the blade will shut off, but the engine will keep running. But you have to probably special order one of those, and so anyway, it's just, of course, I'll go ahead and show you a picture of this Lawn Boy lawnmower for those of you who can't make out exactly the picture, and it's the best mower I can find that matches this description of the mower we owned when I was a child. Alright, here's this picture of this bad boy Lawn Boy. An image I googled randomly on Google. Some kind of internet site called Lawnside Classic, I think. And here's a mower, the best I can remember. Staggering side wheels right there, which I guess made it more convenient for the mower to get into confined spaces, along with this discharge chute, which is all the way up to the front right side, which may be a better design because, rather than the chute being in the middle like all modern day lawnmowers, because seems like the grass had more of a direct discharge, and of course I don't know how safe that would have been if the mower would have slung out a projectile like a rock or something. And you got this pole string that pulls straight up in the air. Of course, you got the gas cap for the gas tank all the way over here. And I think, looks like two other switches or something. Maybe one of them is a throttle and one of them maybe to actually, turn the mower on and, well, off. Of course, you would start by pulling the string and turn it off by the switch on the engine, to the best of my knowledge. And of course, this is a picture of the mower that matches the best with the childhood mower that we owned. We started out living in Roscoe, Illinois. Roscoe or Rockton, Illinois. I'm not sure which, but one of them two areas. When I was just, very little, up until I was 7 years old. And of course I do remember, the mowers we owned somewhat. I remember my dad using this red push mower with a back discharge a bag to it for a while. Then Dad somehow inherited a John Deere lawn tractor from Grandpa Reedy, which would have been his dad whenever, Grandpa Reedy died. And Dad used that lawn tractor mainly for mowing our place. And then, we also had, like, this, well, somewhat elderly couple, named Rex and Gladys Geddes, that lived down the street from us. And, of course, we were close to them, and they were like good people, the best I can remember. And what I'm recalling is, of course, Dad eventually, got that Lawn Boy lawnmower. And he mainly used that Lawn Boy lawnmower for areas that the John Deere lawn tractor couldn't get. And I'm thinking Dad got that Lawn Boy push mower from, our neighbor Rex Geddes, because I seem to recall, one night, Rex Geddes, I noticed that I'm thinking he was using that Lawn Boy push mower to mow his lawn, and, him and Dad were kind of talking as Rex Geddes was, like, using that push Lawn Boy, like, push mower to, like, mow his place. And I was like, that mower looks different. I just remember Rex, so happily pushing that mower, and just kind of thinking, that mower is different, sounds different. And then, I guess within the next, week or so, or somewhere in that time frame, Rex actually gave that Lawn Boy push mower to Dad, and Dad just used it for confined areas where the John Deere lawn tractor couldn't get in. Then we moved to Tennessee in 1983, and of course we brought everything with us, including that, John Deere lawn tractor, and also that, Lawn Boy push mower. And times fell hard on us, and Dad ended up selling that, John Deere lawn tractor he got from his dad. And he just basically used that, Lawn Boy push mower to mow our place. And I seem to remember it giving us trouble some time or two, and maybe a few times I thought, it seems like kind of a shitty mower. But that's all Dad used for quite some time to mow our, old property in Riceville, Tennessee, was that, like, Lawn Boy, mower. And of course, I just thought as I remember it, it didn't have that annoying, blade, the bail you had to, hold back on the handle, and, you could just start it and go, and if you had to walk away from the mower, you could just leave the mower running and all that stuff. And I thought it had kind of a unique design and all that stuff. And Dad used it for some time, but I don't know why this happened, but Dad ended up giving that Lawn Boy mower away to our neighbor named Jerry Millsaps. And I think of course, maybe talked Dad into giving that mower to our neighbor Jerry, and Dad actually did that. Of course, don't remember why. That was our only, like, mower. And of course, I wish I could remember more about that mower, but I'm 46 years old, and my memory is not as on point as it used to be. But I just love, like, reminiscing about that Lawn Boy lawnmower we had, and I thinking to myself, yeah, that's when times were good and stuff was made better and all that, and the unique sound of that lawn boy, and you know, and stuff like that, and you know. So anyway, I mean, it's just, of course, I used to have Facebook. I don't have Facebook anymore. I ended up permanently deleting my Facebook because I got to where I absolutely could not stand Facebook, and I thought, you know, I would be a lot better being off of it, which I'm right. I'm glad to be the hell away from Facebook, but anyway, I remember I posted on Facebook one night in my post reminiscing about that Lawn Boy lawnmower that we owned when I was a child, and like going into details about that Lawn Boy lawnmower. And I remember that somewhat, but I don't know if I can remember everything I said in that post. I mean, seems like I remembered more, but I'm not quite remembering as much as I did back then. I mean, it's just, I guess I'm just old and my memory's not like it used to be. But you know, when I gave details of that mower in that Facebook post, you know, I said, you know, at the end of the post, I am probably the only one in the family who remembers, you know, that good old Lawn Boy push mower. And Mom, like, you know, commented on that post and, like, you know, said, hey, Sam, you're right. You're probably the only one in this family that remembers that mower. Yes, and you know, of course, I mean, I remember lots of things from my childhood that my other family doesn't remember. Yes, and of course, I mean, my memory is still pretty good, but just not quite as good as what it used to be. But after Dad gave that Lawn Boy lawnmower away, I mean, some years later, he got us a Craftsman push mower that didn't last long. I mean, when we moved to Nyota, we got a Craftsman, like, you know, a lawn tractor, but I mean, we owned that Craftsman push mower. The deck rusted out, and Dad ended up junking it. And seems like there was a span of time that when Dad gave that Lawn Boy lawnmower away that I can't remember what we did to mow our lawn, because it seems like there was quite a significant amount of time between when he gave that lawnmower away and whenever we got that Craftsman push mower. I'm not sure what he did to mow our lawn back then, but you know, just telling the best, you know, I can remember of that good old Lawn Boy lawnmower, and just like reminiscing about when times were good and all that, and it's kind of like therapeutic for me when times are bad nowadays. But just wanted to share my happy memory with you. Hope you enjoy the video. Have a good weekend.